Hailing from parts unknown. Hailing from parts unknown, we are coming to you live from parts unknown. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Halloween edition of Midwich Live. I am one of your hosts, El Bandito, and I am joined by
Midwich.
The Midwich. Get it?
I even have a wand.
Awesome.
I am a Midwich. Welcome to Midwich Live. Really great to see everyone today. Happy Halloween weekend. Please ask us questions. Comment through our chat function on whichever platform you're joining us from. You can watch us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Don't forget to subscribe. In fact, subscribing is a bit of a hot topic this week. We have 476 subscribers. Please help us to get to 500. Mum, Dad, if you're watching, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. I'm psyched. I'm ready to body slam this great episode that we have here today, or maybe come off the top rope to see what I did there. We are today joined by some great guests. We have some great interviews. As we all know, InfoComm 21 is happening in the U.S., and we have some stuff going on all over the place, and we can possibly get to that. But more importantly, we're here to talk about something that's going to happen next week in England. First of all, let's say hi to Gabe, who's over on LinkedIn watching. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate the feedback. And folks, please join us in the chat. Drop something in there. We are super excited. Why? Because we ate a little bit too much chocolate already this morning. So sugar rush would be a word. I'm going to shut up now, Jenny.
So first, I want to tell everybody that today we launched our new Festive Raffle. If you would like to enter and win some amazing prizes, it's all for a great cause, a mental health charity. Please scan the QR code at the bottom of this screen to get involved. And we are getting closer and closer to our event on the 4th of November. We still have some seats available. If you would like to join us and hear the wisdom from the ultimate AV influencers, Chris Neto and Tim Albright, and one of my latest tech trends. I'm also going to touch a little bit on how I sort of do my job and so on, because I get a lot of people asking me, what exactly do you do and how do you do that then? How do you do the research? So I'm looking forward to sharing some of that and then sharing what we think we can expect from 2022 onwards. And whilst we're on the topic, we should probably play the interview that we got with Tim Albright before he jetted off to InfoComm. Have we got that video?
Let's roll. Well, look who we have here joining us. Mr. Albright, did you not have anything better to do than come hang out with us on a Friday?
I have nothing better to do than hang out with Jenny.
Yeah,
I have nothing better to do than hang out with Jenny. You, I know.
Yeah. How you been?
I am well. Cranking out InfoComm this week. And it's a crazy week because I'm in Orlando this week, and then you and I get to see each other for the first time in person. Which is kind of crazy in like 2 years. I'll see you in person for the first time in London, weirdly enough.
Yeah, a lot of weird things have happened in between there, between personal injuries and car accidents and weight losses and fitness.
Yeah.
And all this crazy stuff happened, but that's not why you're here. Nope. We'd love to talk to you about that, but we could talk to you about that in London, yes, because Tim and I will be there joining Jenny for the first time. Jenny's going to be scared when the Americans show up for the first time, but we're technically going to be in London November 3rd when we arrive, and then we are off to do a event at Innovation House, which is on November 4th, and then November 5th is we get suit and tied up and tuxed up for the AV Awards. There's a whole full schedule lined up for us.
Do you have matching jackets?
Are we doing this right? Are we doing this UK thing right? Is there anything that we're missing that we need to?
Depends on what you're going to wear. So I saw what you guys wore last year. Is that what we can expect this year?
Absolutely not.
No.
Not that last year was not fun, and it was exciting to get our very snazzy glitter jackets from DJ days. But no, this year we're taking it. We're 100% serious. We will deliver the truth, the facts, and the news the way that the people expect us to. Well, at least Tim will.
Speak for yourself. I'm not taking the the dress serious.
But you guys can tell us about it, right? So last year, obviously, the world was very different. For a long time, we all thought that we were going to be able to get to the AV Awards. And then, it got closer and closer to the time, and government guidelines were a bit wishy-washy, but it didn't seem right to go ahead. So we held an entirely virtual AV Awards. And that's the first time really that I've interacted with so many international people at an AV Awards virtually via the chats and so on. But you guys were here the year before, so that's 2019?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2019.
And that was at Battersea, yeah?
Yeah, the first time we came over was 2018 actually at Govers, but 2019 was really cool because Battersea is this ginormous, basically empty box, and the folks that put it on completely converted it and did a really great job. The lights and the video walls and everything. And we kind of had a crow's nest view of the stage and everything, and brought the AV Awards out, beyond Battersea and beyond London, to the rest of the world. It was actually quite cool.
Yeah, I kind of like the fact that we were actually, there's a lot of people that have jumped on, obviously, the live event and internet version of a live event, but we were doing this back in 2018 before it was cool. We did work with the folks at AV Magazine with this idea of having a bigger global audience by doing an online broadcast. Up until then, I had not seen many things streamed live up until that point. So it was very exciting to be part of that initial offering in 2018. And now 4 years later, we're still providing the voice for the broadcast. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
AV celebrities. And what was the feedback? So, that at that time, when you were streaming from Grosvenor House and then the first awards at Battersea, we didn't have the pandemic. I don't think anyone can really remember what that felt like. But back then, you would have done that stream, you would have returned home from London, and you must have been greeted by local folks with feedback. Were our friends over the pond interested to see our AV Oscars?
I think so, and I would actually say that we didn't have to wait to get back to the States. The thing that was really, really remarkable to me, at least, was the immediate feedback. Right, the immediate feedback of who won. There were a number of U.S. Companies and U.S. Higher education places that were up for awards that year, and so they were actually actively watching. Our buddy Joe Way from USC, they were up, and so they had it up in their office. It was like 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon Pacific time, and so they were actively watching and they were engaging. Chris was on Twitter, kind of getting feedback, and it was really, really cool to get that immediate feedback from folks watching live.
Yeah, and we do pay attention to who's watching, because that's part of it, right? Like the minute that somebody was making a comment, and I would answer on air, I see you, I see that comment, and we acknowledge that, because that's the difference between pre-recorded and just winging it with just some regular stream, or not really paying attention to what the audience is. Our job at the AV Awards is to broadcast it out, but at the same time, I'm not hiding the fact that my responsibility is to engage with the audience that's out there, the same way a host on stage would be looking for the crowd feedback in the front. We get our energy off that. So that's how it works.
I didn't know you had Twitter, Chris. That's
it's a new thing. It's a new thing. It may not catch on, so that's great. There's been a lot of people.
It might not. It might not.
He also has Google Plus too.
Oh wow. Love that. But on the topic of Twitter, socials, I mean, you two are some of the, a pair of the biggest names and accredited names by certain publications in our field. You know a lot about how to raise your profile online, raise your profile through social channels, and this is kind of what our event is about on the 4th. So maybe one of you could let us have a little teaser about what you guys are going to be able to deliver in your personal branding seminar, which will be taking place at Innovation House in Bracknell on the 4th of November.
Yeah, I will give you my two pieces. Number one, do whatever Neto does. And number two is be authentic, right? That is the one thing that I've gotten over the last 10, 12 years is people can smell BS a mile away. I don't care what generation they are, and we'll talk about generations probably a little bit, but people can smell BS. And so the one thing that you get from me is me, right? I am who I am, and online. I love my Chicago Bears, which is a U.S. Football team, as much as they're bad, but you're going to get that as well, right?
Yeah, what I think what I'm gonna bring to the table is that I agree with Tim. It's authenticity. It's also transparency. Who you are, what you're up to, is got to be clear as can be. But one of the things that I'd like to bring to that is that there's going to be an audience of individuals that are there. Yes, they are representing their company, but I want to help them personally, right? How do you elevate that? And how do you find time? Because that's the biggest question I have whenever I run any type of social media stuff. And I always go back to my roots. Like, I was not a marketing person. I did not go to school for this, right? I went to school and I became a tech, and I've been in tech for 20 years who learned how to do this along the way, right? The authentic part of this is that it was organic for me. Now, I have a personality that allows that, right? Not everybody's going to be built for it, but what we're going to do is deliver some ideas, some tips, some tricks. I'm even going to show you some examples of things not to do online that I witnessed recently. So, yes, there has been a lot of stuff going on over the past 20 months that is great examples of how to and how not to do social. And I'll be honest with you, the pandemic caused a lot of people to run in. Did they do it right? Maybe, but then they gave up within 60 days, or they had, I'm going to try it for so long and then see what's up. So we'll see. I have some ideas. I think I can help some folks that are out there. And the nice part is I'm 100% behind the whole idea of getting a new headshot, which I haven't had in the last 5 years. So that's great. And they're going to be offering a headshot. That is, believe it or not, that's also key to how you're represented. And I'm going to tell people what exactly is the science behind that, because I had to learn how you represent yourself in a picture and how it comes across to people. So we're going to be talking about that as well.
See, I'm all for this whole authenticity thing. My headshot is taken from when I was significantly younger, a lot more tanned, definitely thinner. But today's world, I only have to present head and shoulders. So it's fine for me to keep that picture because no one gets to meet me from the shoulders down. So it's all good. Okay, let's just round this up quickly then with you two on. So you're going to be at the AV Awards and you'll run your commentary. I think you guys are hidden, is that right? So we won't see you if we're down at the tables. But for those folks that aren't joining us in person, talk to us a little bit about where you're going to be, what you'll be saying, and how do they tune in?
So we'll be on, like I said, the crow's nest view. It's up on the second floor at Battersea, and really kind of a running commentary of the awards as they're being announced, right? So for great integration or digital signage or whatever, the award will be announced from the stage, and then Chris and I will talk about and kind of highlight why they won the award, what they won the award for, the project, the product, and all the things that go into making the award possible.
If they didn't change anything, Jenny, if you go to the main bar, which is as soon as you walk in past the red carpet and you go into the event space, there's the big bar at the center. If you're at that bar and you look up, if you turn around to where you just walked in and you look up to the top, you'll see us. And we typically have our backs, but once we're done with our sound check, we're kind of up there hanging out and taking a lay of the land and seeing everybody. Last year there was a couple pictures, or last time we were there in 2019, there's a couple pictures of us in the crow's nest waving hi to the folks, but it was definitely better than 2018. In 2018, we were at Grosvenor, and Grosvenor was not built for that kind of stuff. So we were off into a meeting room, completely off to the side, and we were completely ad-libbing it because we did not have view of the stage. We did not know what was going on. So if you watch back the tape from 2018, wow, I said tape, but if you watch back the recording of 2018, you will see that there was a lot of tap dancing trying to figure out what to do. 2019, we were much better prepared and a much better setup so we can actually feel the crowd and the noise and see and kind of know where it was going on. We didn't lose track of that. So,
yeah.
Exciting. And then afterwards, once the awards have finished and the presentation's done, you guys come downstairs?
Yes.
I have no comment for what happened the last time after.
It is night and day what happens before as the awards are going. That's one thing. The minute the awards are done, it's a whole other party. It turns into like, crazy,
It's a club.
crazy party.
It's a
great.
European
The DJ
club.
comes out.
Yeah.
It's complete celebration. But it's funny though, Jenny, you are not talking about the fact that we have a pre-show to this whole thing where you are going to be rocking the red carpet, and I need help here. I'm going to need some help here. I don't know nothing about fashion, nothing about style. So we're going to have to ask people, is that Givenchy you're wearing? Is that, Dolce & Gabbana? I don't know. I'm going to have to take notes of what European fashion looks like. I'm going to have to go watch European Vacation, what Chevy Chase wore on that. So that's the kind of things that I need to know.
Well, we can pick out some like high fashion examples, can't we? And maybe bring them onto our pre-show so that everyone can have a look at them. And we've got a few other ideas about how we might exploit a few folks who come and talk to us on our show before the AV Awards as well. But thanks so much for joining us, Tim. It's been really interesting to learn a bit more about what you guys are going to talk about on our event on the 4th, and also how it works at the AV Awards with the live stream.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. How about
Great.
That was a quick interview. Thank you, Tim, for taking some time out. This was actually something that we had to do prior to Tim going to Infocom. He's currently in Orlando, running through booths and trying to do what people do at a trade show.
I'm a bit jealous. So I've been asked a few times over the last week since the registration's opened who our event on the 4th is aimed at. And let's sort of address that quickly here. For me, right, it's aimed at anyone who has an interest in raising their profile, full stop. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work in marketing, that you have to be in charge of the social media, etc. For anyone who, and I dip in and dip out of the sort of AV Tweeps world, and I love it, and I get really addicted for a week or so, and then I kind of forget that it's there for a month, and then I return. But there is such a great community of knowledge share and fun available on social media. And even if you just want to come along to learn a bit about what that is and what's out there for our industry. And then that spans into, much wider conversations about the various different councils that we have access to in the industry, mentoring and so on. And all of this is going to get touched on at the event on the 4th. It's very short and sweet. And for those of you who are coming to the awards from outside of London, not a bad idea for you to sort of head our way to Bracknell en route, and then we will touch on trends as well. So even if the social media thing is not for you, and you're just interested in looking at what we can expect from a Midwich perspective, and we sit in a good position to see those buying trends, maybe more so than some of the analysts out there who look at previous years of business and user trends. It's worth coming along to have a listen. And if you haven't already been, it's a good opportunity to see Innovation House, which this week has been getting some really good press after we had a few customers bring their entire teams down. So I think, Ben, you've got a teaser video to get everyone excited about our event on the 4th. So producer Ben, can we play that? I just really like the music.
Get you all fired up, and they come out. You got to take the music into our session. can I just quickly thank everybody who is listing, putting stuff into the chat room. These are great. Everybody is chiming in on our, yes, this is our formal attire when we are not when we are not doing
I
video.
was confused by that. I didn't. The LinkedIn user that says that they love the formal dress code. I'm not sure what we've done different.
I don't get it. I'm wrestling prices away, down. That's my.
Well, this is what we wear Monday to Thursday normally, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to get dressed up for a Midwich Live, and we've not done that because it's holiday season.
No, it's super casual Friday. How's that? So we have. This is going off the rails now, Jenny. We're distracted by our costumes. We knew this was going to happen pretty soon. We're going to be in character. I'm going to be throwing elbows, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. But we have some great guests. And do we have the guest coming up now? I'm like that anxious kid on Christmas. Do we talk to the guests now, or do we go to a quick video? What do we do next?
I don't think we have a video before this guest, because this one's like an actual live guest, like a real person in real time, like you and I are right now, which is exciting.
And the best part is that he did not get the memo that we were going to be in full regalia. So this is going to be interesting when he pops up on video. Surprise!
But it's a pretty cool guest, given that the topic we're discussing today is the AV Awards. We have none other than Clive Caldwell joining us. Clive, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here in body. Thanks for the compliment of calling me live, by the way. I'm in two minds about whether I'm live or not compared to you two. That's a great outfit, really. I mean, there's so many words, too little time, aren't there, Chris?
But you didn't want to dress up.
Now I apologise for not raising the game to look like you two.
Yeah, but he's dressed as a magazine editor. That's
yeah, well, I'm in Croydon, for goodness sake. So you've got to give it some leeway.
I haven't been to many places, but I have been to Croydon. At least
you're missing a trick. Believe me, we've got everybody down here. It's the place to be.
Excellent.
It's got me after all.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. I appreciate the time and giving us a bit of your busy schedule. Obviously, with AV Awards coming right up, how are things going? How's preparations going? Are we all set? Am I going to be allowed to come hang out, or what's going on?
It's a bit flipping nuts for the minute. I mean, the last week in any kind of run up to a major event is exactly that. A lot of finishing off and various other things. So many things can change at the last minute as well. So it's a pretty busy week. But don't forget, we're producing 2 magazines and everything else, as well as an awards thing. In fact, 2 awards, and we've got events planned right up until December, every week and everything else. So it's the company is in full production mode at the moment. And it's, the staff are going to be there until 4 to 6 o'clock in the morning, as the AV industry knows, on the shakedown and getting everything out for 6 a.m., which when we've got to clear out the Evolution site for someone else to walk in. So it's a tough gig, I have to say, but it's what needs to be done. But it's a fantastic venue, I have to say. Even after 2 years away from it, it's great that we're going back there. It's as you say, you are so unlimited in the hotels, lovely though they are. It means you can do more things with it, and it accommodates more things should you wish to do them.
Absolutely. And I think everyone's just so desperate to get back to the AV Awards. It was so gutting because we ended up not being able to come to the AV Awards last year at relatively last minute point, wasn't it? We really did think that it looked like it was going to be possible, but with some measures in place. What can we expect this year, Clive? So I think you've got a really great comedian. I think you've got a really great music offering.
Well, we got a number of things. So can I just start with the COVID thing, really? Because
sure.
We're not policing guests, so please be mindful and respectful of those around you. We prefer you to be doubly vaccinated, but it's not mandatory. So if you're not vaccinated, then please take a PCR test or have had a negative COVID test in the last 48 hours. So that's what I would have to say. A lot of people have spent 1,400, most probably, I would think. So that's something that really has to be handled. I'm very vulnerable, of course. So, it's been my first outing myself with such a large gathering of people. I mean, as you probably know, we've got 2 characters here. We've got Russell Kane, who was at the, he first came to us in 2012, funnily enough. I had a long chat with him. He's great then. He's a multi-award winning comedian and writer. And people don't think of him as a writer anyway. He's been all over the place. People listen to his podcast and everything else, his TV appearances, live at the Apollo, the One Show in the UK, and everything else. It's still pretty prolific. And he's a pretty quick banter and everything else. And the last time he handled the Hall really well. And he's a great sort of guy. He's hosted for all these things for 3 or 4 years. He's on the A-listing circuit now. And of course, we've gone back to, if people remember him, probably in the UK, Judge Jules, who's a renowned DJ and presenter from the 90s. I mean, he first burst into the national conscience on many Radio 1s and Kiss FM. 3 decades on, he's still going strong and irregular at mega clubs around the world, including Minister's Sound. I mean, he's played 500 gigs in Ibiza alone. But when he's not DJing, he's actually a lawyer. So the judge moniker was acquired when he was DJing illegal raves as a law student. So, I mean, I'm loving to see him getting going. It'd be quite a good fun evening, I'm hoping, anyway.
I'm very excited, very, very excited to be back at the awards for everything that's happening. We've entered 2 categories. You can't tell us right now, Clive, if we've been successful or not?
No, well, the usual envelope wasn't behind that tree, was it, Jenny? So, I've had to sort of pass by on that one.
Okay. How many guests can we expect?
We've got about 1,300 people, I think, really.
Wow.
And we are going to be limited because the catering and various other things, they only allow us an absolute maximum. But it's been ramped up pretty quickly in the time, I have to say. So, I mean, we accommodate everybody. It's a big venue, but the challenge is making it intimate at the same time. So I think there's plenty of room for everybody. And, there's certain procedures, even the way the catering staff have to approach tables and serve and everything else. That adds a bit of time to the night. So, there are so many, even though we're COVID's moved on and various other things, there's still quite complicated procedures that staff have to really, and the scale is obviously enormous. I mean, when you had the minute by minute build up of the site, if you see on the website, and see what has to be put up, and then the night happens, and then the takedown. It's quite some effort. So that's still going on. That's going to take a few rehearsals and practice, I think, from the professionals at the Evolution. But there's quite a few procedural changes that we hope will work on the night.
So you're preparing your speech, because you typically do the welcome speech. What I want to ask the folks that are watching, can you give us a quick over-under? What do you think? Do you think Clive's speech will be over 10 minutes or under 10 minutes? In the past, I'm not going to tell you what I've heard because I've been there twice and got to hear it and see it in person. So if you're on the socials, go ahead, give us an over 10 minutes or under 10 minutes for his speech. And you know what, Clive, you can use this as your metrics to decide what the people want. You are a man of the people, and the people will vote.
I know. You took the word right out of my mouth. Metrics or matrix, I always say, but there we are. No, it's going to be a bit different this year. I'm going to keep it relatively straightforward and have a different tack at the opening than we did before. So it'll be slightly different. It won't be like it was in 2019 or before, in fact. So I want the evening to rattle along. We've got a lot to get through, a lot of categories, 28, 29 categories, and a lot of entries in those categories. So it's been a longer judging session than we've had before. So we've got a lot planned for that night with the entertainment and various other things. So we've got a lot to get through. And we want to keep people buzzing, there's nothing worse than sitting in a seat for hours on end, wondering what's going to happen next. So you want to keep it rattling, so it's something of a challenge as well.
Excellent. What about the judging process that happened this time around? I mean, a lot of this happened virtually. So even the judging itself happened virtually. So tell us about, did you see a lot of virtual entrants? Are you seeing that things have moved a lot quicker? Were you having access to different types of judges because it was an online procedure? When you start narrowing down and getting down to the finalists and stuff like that, tell us about that.
Well, yes to all of the above to a point. I mean, we were able to pull in a lot of people outside, worldwide. I mean, not that many, I have to say, but when you're doing the interviews and the we do interview a number of people in 3 or 4 categories, and they were virtual, clearly. But that worked rather well. In fact, the whole medium actually lent itself better to a virtual environment than the physical one, where everybody's packed into one room for a very, very long day. I think people thought differently. They were much more. It was a much more efficient way of doing things. People were sharper, I felt. which is great. I think we also have a number of better explanations, I think, around the entries, because people were thinking and communicating slightly different than they would do. And we ran more interviews. You'll probably hear from Johnny what potentially has happened in previous years, but I think the whole thing I would like to keep in its current form. Actually, we might split it up. I mean, we are dealing with a lot of entries here, and it took a lot longer. It probably went a month longer than we would normally have done it in the previous years. We ran discretionary awards like the Green Award, which we've only just come out of now. That took until last month to really finalise and go through. I mean, there's much more complex decision making involved than there has been in previous things. I mean, people forget the AV Awards have grown a lot. We're looking at green issues as well. As that was the only discretionary award that came through. We had to be sensitive about it, but the whole decision making process on that one discretionary award alone 2 weeks. So we've had to adapt to that, and that ran right into the holiday season. And our judges were brilliant. I mean, considering how they're under the cosh themselves, working in their own companies. I mean, a lot of them really had to have special dispensation to judge for us, but it's not a paying element. They get a seat at the awards of the night, but they just give us a lot of their own time generously. I mean, it's a big ask for a lot of them, and they also took part in our AV Works conference as well, which is a double whammy for a lot of them. So this year has seen our judges work really hard and devote a lot of time to us, really. So we owe them big time, I think.
I think the saying is there's nothing stronger than the heart of a volunteer. So kudos to the judges who have gone out and taken their time.
Yeah, I mean, the AV market is very good for that. I mean, people are very generous, and the heart of a strong and we have some really good. We got the best, I think, over the years. We've built up a lot of goodwill, but I also like to reflect that back into how we can support them too. But they're a great bunch of people, and the experience in there is to be envied, I think, by a lot of other people.
Excellent.
That's been great. Thank you so much for joining us, Clive. We're actually going to move shortly. Can I just say one thing
I didn't mention?
Yeah.
I'm looking through all the files and everything else. It seems a blink since 2012. The magazine was 40 years old. And actually,
Wow.
It is 50 years old in January 2022. And 2020, unbelievable. I thought, how's that happened?
Yeah.
And it was launched in 72. And I was looking through all that. I thought, my God, 50 years in January.
Yeah.
Big party next year.
How frightening is that? Well, I'm hoping so. I mean, great timing, isn't it? I mean, if we can just get something in there and just go. I mean, it'll be for our February issue when we go big, hopefully. But imagine when we get to ISE, it's party time, kids.
How exciting! ISE, Barcelona, and then
if we're allowed.
Vegas.
The Spanish may have
we
other
will
ideas.
be.
I don't know. I'm not allowed abroad yet.
Oh,
and
we
it just hit me where, Clive, you said you didn't come on dressed up, but it just struck me what you are. You are Are you on the set of Mastermind? Like what is now all of a sudden it hit me? Wow, that is a great cosplay. I appreciate it.
Well, if you notice the clever camera angle, the lower half of my half is not to be seen in public really very often. So it's a combination of clever camera angles and very subtle shades of dark colours, which make me present me in a more flattering light. So a lot of thought and planning has gone into how I'm presented these days, so people don't have nightmares, even though it's Halloween.
We just want to know if there's going to be fireworks to close out the interview. Is there going to be fireworks at the?
Darling, it's my comeback gig. Of course, there's going to be fireworks.
I don't. Well, thank you. Right now, the audience has said that you will definitely be over 10 minutes. So just take that into consideration, sir.
My goodness.
We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Pleasure.
I'll see you next Friday and possibly next Thursday at the Innovation House, if possible. But if not, thank you again so much. And thank you for putting on this great event for the industry. I think that people have been dying for some quality networking and a good time. And listening and hearing about the technology that we've been putting in for the past 2 years, that has been overdue for some credibility, for some recognition, not credibility. So thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
It's been a big team, so I'm the tip. I'm the part of the iceberg. Really, it's been a lot of work for a lot of people, and it's extraordinary how many people have been involved in all this for the last few years. So it's really down to the hardworking team there themselves, really, rather than me, I have to say.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Clive, for joining us.
Wow.
The man himself.
The man, the
So
myth, the legend.
I'm going to, I guess, quickly just touch on before we bring on our pre-record of our sort of interviewed judge that we caught up with last week. So Midwich enter the awards regularly. We've entered various different categories. Distributor of the Year is one that we typically do enter quite a lot, and we've been very successful in. And I guess I want to address a little bit about exactly what I've experienced as someone who's gone through that process as an applicant and not a judge. I do work as a judge actually for the Avixa AV Experience Awards, so I have a little bit of insight into how they do their judging process. But in terms of the AV Awards, all I have experienced is the process as an applicant. Now, my experience is that, first and foremost, we're expected to put forward a digital, written, or video, but a combination submission. And one of the things that we aim to do a lot of the time is to really match the criteria of the entry. So making sure that every question, every header has been met exactly as it's been asked. And I know that a previous member of the AV Magazine team once told me that was a big part of it, in that they have to make it a very fair process. So that initial submission and getting from there to shortlist, a lot of it really does depend on how you've matched up to that criteria, because you can have a fantastic entry, but if you've missed a section, misunderstood a section, or perhaps answered it in a way that wasn't easy to correlate to the criteria that they've set, that submission might well be dismissed, even though actually some of the great stuff that you have put in it would have been really relevant to the award. So we at Midwich concentrate really hard on looking at the criteria that's set, how they want the submission to be answered, and making sure that we match that up. And then, where we have the opportunity to talk about the over and above stuff that we do that's not part of the core submission criteria, that's where we would put that. And we have actually been very successful in that we have always been shortlisted for any entries that we've put forward. So I'd say, not to try and bolster the competition that's out there in terms of their success when it comes to the AV Awards, that's definitely something that we've learned. And then that's where I guess I would step in sometimes. So myself and colleagues have been the nominated persons to go and deliver the in-person, or over the last couple of years, the virtual pitches to the judges. And I have to say, everyone, this part is tough. So you have a very short period of time. It's very strict that you don't run over that time. Even if you know any of the judges or anyone in the room, you are asked before you arrive there to not address them, to not engage in small talk or make any sort of conversation, or lighten the mood, etc. And you go ahead and you deliver your 10-minute pitch. You are limited to 5 slides as part of that pitch as well, and there can be no video, etc. So there's a lot of rules involved. And then you are faced with some questions for which you have no preparation of what those judges are going to ask you. And it is a pretty intense process. And what we wanted to do, so I know for certain that it is a very rigorous process and a very fair process. And as I have said, I act as a judge for another AV body, and I experienced the exact same situation there, where we're given limited information, that there's a very strict judging criteria, and that everyone is given an absolute equal opportunity. So we deliberately caught up with a judge to get their point of view. Now, this judge actually works for a company called Pitch. They have an amazing office that we helped them to get out, that's a little out of the ordinary, shall we say. And we pre-recorded an interview with this judge last week, so that we could bring to you a judge that didn't participate as a judge in this year's awards, but did in the previous year, just for him to give us his take as really a sort of a little bit step back from the AV industry. They're attached to us in terms of events, but they're not what we would call a sort of core industry channel company, and he joined us to talk about his judging experience. But we're going to have a little promo video for his company first. Wow.
I got to give it to you, Jenny. Every time we bring on a guest, they bring incredible videos every single time.
Awesome video. Welcome, Johnny. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We have to ask, where are you?
I'm on board a Boeing 727 Pitch Air, which is our extension to our office space.
Awesome. And I assume, as it's an extension to your office space, you haven't had to show a vaccination passport to board today, or?
No, I haven't. To board, I had to climb on top of some rusty old shipping containers, give the air stairs a kick and walk on. The plane doesn't have wings or engines. I'll disclose that.
I would ask a question, but I'm just checking off bucket list. Interview somebody on a jet. Okay, we're good. All right.
Tick. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And Johnny, I think we're going to want to take advantage of having this time with you to talk a little bit about what you've seen in terms of live events and what's been happening in that space, because it's been a really tough area for people. But firstly, we would like to take advantage of an experience that you had last year, because you were part of the judging process for last year's AV Awards. And I think that our listeners, in light of the fact that we are focusing on the AV Awards for this show, would really like to understand what you could tell us from a judge's perspective about that process, how it works, how fair is it, how much interaction do you have with other judges?
Sure. So let's start with the elephant in the room, that people sometimes think that awards shows are all about marketing spend. And I've produced personally hundreds of awards shows in my career on the AV side, and that's the reputation they have. It's not true, though. They are actually pretty objective, and the judging panels I've worked with, both on the AV Awards and other shows in other industries, are really genuinely quite objective. The people who are there, while they might have a few relationships with some mates and stuff, they are actually really looking for the best people in those categories. So I actually think it's an honest process, and there's definitely no influence from sponsorship that I've ever experienced.
And how does it work then? So what's the first thing that you see as a judge on the AV Awards panel?
Sure. So a link to a WeTransfer site that probably won't work the first time you try it. A few emails later, you actually get the stuff in, and then you see the applications, the full applications. They're quite drawn out. When you see ones that are 20 pages with loads of text, your heart sinks. When you see a nice one that's well designed, it's like, cool, this will be fun. So instantly, the way you're going to respond to that application nomination is determined by the graphic design and the style of the file, very much like any other report you might read in business.
Yeah. And then is there a second stage to the judging that you've done? Is there a criteria list that's provided that you have to tick off? How do you judge the award entries?
So the last one was obviously Zoom call based, and it was just having a bit of a chit chat about what we all thought. Very collaborative, lots of listening, lots of sharing ideas and challenging each other's, quite debating as well at sometimes. Got quite technical at times. I remember in particular, we were talking about Genelex's new product in terms of the efficiency they were driving off the back of using PoE infrastructure to power speakers. And I was like, that's really cool. How's that possible? We had a really good chat about it, and we all learnt from it as well. So it's a very collaborative, learning-based process with, I think, some quite balanced outcomes at the end of it.
Yeah, great. Glad to hear that you think it's so fair. I think there's a lot of discussions I've personally been through this time around the virtual pitches and so on, but in the past the sort of stand-up pitches, and it's quite a grueling process. I think that people perhaps that haven't entered the awards in the past wouldn't realize the effort that goes in from those applicants and nominees to put themselves forward.
Yeah, and let's be honest, like in the AV world, people are technically amazing, but they're not always the best at selling things. So I would say, like, try and keep it fun and punchy and get those really salient points in there straight away. And if you can back it up with video content or pictures, fantastic. Get your points across in the most concise way possible and make someone love your brand. Really share your passion if you have some. And if you're technically excellent, try and share that as well.
Johnny, we are an industry of nerds, and we technically like to focus on the technical side of the business, right? How much of the technical people should really be focusing on as opposed to the overall experience? Because when you're talking about some of these projects, the end goal is an experience. How we build that tech, and put that tech together is part of the journey, but ultimately it's how does that work or function into the experience part of the business? How heavy technical should these award presentations, or not the presentation, but the technical details that go into the judging, should they be focused heavy on tech, or should they be always constantly referring back to what the end goal is with the experience?
Make them as technical as they need to be to make the point you're trying to make. Yeah. No one's necessarily particularly interested in what coding you're putting on a condenser microphone unless it makes it sound good. And that brings you to the next question, which is, what is the point of what you're doing? If you've got an amazing microphone, for example, it's not a microphone you're selling. It's the ability to pick up sound so people can hear it. Talk about that, and where relevant, make reference to the technology. Remember, we're in the communication business first and foremost. AV is just the tools that we use to communicate with people.
Absolutely. And we've had a very interesting nearly 2 years now. Talk to us about what that's been like for Pitch, and how perhaps you've had to diversify in your business to support, or in fact how well that may have actually worked out for you guys in terms of your expertise in live events.
Sure. Despite being quite prolific in the AV world, I've never seen us as an AV business. I've always seen us, and our mission is to create experiences and to share messages. And again, AV is the tools by which we do that, as a studios, as a structures, as a content creation. Create experiences and share messages. So when COVID hit, simple question, how do we keep creating experiences and sharing messages? Then we thought, got loads of really good AV equipment, we could make TV studios. It's kind of obvious when you think like that. So we built 3 TV studios, and they've been flat out. What we found is the staff aren't spending their life on the M4. All the money's not going on trucks and tour buses and hotel rooms. We're delivering better content to larger audiences now. And the gross profits are higher because most of the money's not ending up in a skip from materials and print graphics. So, it's kind of like a logical path, which has worked out really well so far. Now what we're seeing is our conference type work becoming more like a live TV studio audience sort of vibe. Just today, rather than 1,200 in the O2 Intercontinental in London, it's 200 in the room with maybe 1,000 or 2 outside the room. So we're now becoming more of a broadcast style model with AV supporting that.
Sounds great.
Really interesting to hear, and thank you so much for coming on and clearing up any of the myths around how one achieves an AV award. Thanks so much for your time, Johnny.
Thank you. See you soon.
Well, now
a real judge.
A real judge. I said it in the chat, and I said it on our video with Johnny. My bucket list was to interview somebody who was on a jet plane, so I got that. And my second bucket list was to have a serious AV conversation dressed as a Mexican luchador. So,
have we had a serious conversation?
No, but I am dying to take this off because I am sweating. God, folks, this is crazy. So let's wrap this up. Well, before we wrap this up, let's go right into the conversation.
We have to talk about when we're not going to be having serious conversations, which will be at our AV Awards pre-show show. So we're going to be live from the AV Awards, and I was on a call actually earlier today discussing the set that we're going to be on, the microphones that they're going to give us, and the expert lighting and so on. We're so privileged at Midwich to have a sister company in broadcast, which is Holden, who are going to help us create our Midwich live from the AV Awards. We will be grabbing some people. We've given a heads up to a couple. Take the gifts, Chris. So maybe, not too many of you. You stay away. We've got some fun. It's going to be a really fun show. We're purely going to be grabbing some big hitting industry names, people that are dressed particularly well, and to have a little chat with them about what the AV Awards means to them, get everybody really in the mood for our online audience that will be joining Chris and Tim later, because for us, this is a huge event in the UK, and some people will travel in from Europe, but it's great to be able to share it on the level that we can now internationally. And I know that a lot of our US colleagues are really excited to join the Midwich Live pre-show, and then to join the live stream of the event as well, and get as close to this event as they can do. So super, super excited. And I really hope that if you're not coming to the AV Awards, please tune in and join us live from the AV Awards, red carpet, at 6:15 onwards. And then if you register, you can join Chris and Tim for their live commentary, like kind of football style commentary of the awards themselves, exactly as it happens. And really excited to see everybody. Now, we have a competition winner from our last show.
Absolutely.
Is that a plain piece of paper you have, Chris?
No, this is not a plain piece of paper. It's plain in the back. But I was handed a note to acknowledge Rachel Hamilton, who has now stepped into the conversation on our chat. I wonder if we'll see Rachel at the AV Awards, at least on the red carpet. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But we are going to acknowledge the fact that we have a Amazon voucher winner. Aaron Peterson from Mechadyne Corp is the winner of a $100 Amazon voucher. Aaron, thank you so much for checking us out last month, and hopefully you're on today and just sitting in the background, just watching our costumed avenging looks that we have today. It is casual, super casual Friday at both Midwich and Starin. So enjoy the $100 voucher. Thank you so much to everybody who has joined us on the chat today. It was a lively chat, and I appreciate that. Thank you for everybody who submitted the over-under for Clive, and they're all expecting 10 minutes over.
That's a unanimous. He will take longer than 10 minutes. Yeah.
It seems to be unanimous. We do have our next show coming up in November, and we're going to keep that a surprise as far as what we're going to title that one.
Yeah, well, I think we can probably say what it's going to be, because producer Ben already put it at the bottom of the screen. So we're going to go with AV, technology as a service, which is definitely something, close to our hearts, isn't it, Chris? Darren and Midwich Limited were the first ones to go live with our Zoom HAS and Channel HAS offerings, and then that's been expanding ever since. So I think everyone's talking services, everyone's talking recurring revenue models, and it's a really good one for us to address. We've got some really interesting ideas for shows in the new year as well. And a couple of you out there, I've already floated some, would you like to get involved in this, which is very exciting. So our next show date is to be confirmed, maybe at the end of November, could possibly fall into December. We'll let you know, because there's lots of holidays coming up in the US that we have to work around for Chris. And I've just realized you took your costume off. And I'm still like this. So,
well, no, I'm still in character. Now I'm a wrestling promoter as opposed to a wrestling figure. So I'm still there. You call me Eric Bischoff, if for those that are watching and former WCW fans in the world. I did miss the QR code. Ladies and gentlemen, go back, hit back on you know how you have the little play button? Go back, grab that code that producer.
This one.
That one.
This one.
With your phone, scan that QR code. It's for a good cause. You can win prizes, but more importantly, it is for charity, and it is the Midwich annual charity drive that they do for the holidays. So please, everybody, if you can, please give, and I know that it will be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. This is our October show. We dressed up in character. Why? Because it's just happened to land that way. Have a great Halloween, because Halloween is coming up on Sunday. It is a live show, so we are constantly moving and changing things, as you saw with producer Ben flipping the script on us, telling us things that we did not even know 2 minutes before we jumped on. So thank you, everybody who joined us. Jenny, do you have any final words for the audience before we sign off and say ciao?
The Midwich, I don't know what's it. Expelliarmus. There you go. That is my final word. From the Midwich. This is actually Luna Lovegood's wand, purchased from Harry Potter World in Orlando, somewhere I wish that I was right now at Infocom with my fellow AV tweeps. But we're not there. We will be next year in Vegas, and can't wait for live events to get started again. I'm really looking forward to having a small live event of our own on the 4th of November, followed by a big live event that everyone's itching for at the AV Awards. And these awards make such a difference to the winners. So thank you so much. Great to see you, Rachel. Great to see you, Ifat, talking to us. Really, I think you guys are joining us for our event. So anyone that wants to catch up with those two, they'll be there. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. I am going to go and wash my face.
And I will see you guys in person for the first time in the UK next week. I will be heading that way, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. That's when I actually land for the first time. And then finally, Thursday night at the Innovation House for the conversation, quick presentation on social media, asking Q&A with Tim. And then off to the AV Awards, where you'll see me for about 20 minutes before the show, and then I'll disappear. I'll get hit with that Expelliarmus spell that the Midwich will hit me with. I'll dash off into a broadcast booth, and then I'll pop up later when everybody is sauced and everybody's having a great time at the end of the show. So please, everybody, stay safe, wash your hands, wear masks, do whatever you need to do. Let's get to the AV Awards. Let's get to Innovation House next week. Let's do what we need to do, and let's get back to being fun AV people and doing fun things. But let's all do it with care and with obviously with safety. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Midwich Live.
See you next week.